What time is it? Podcast time. It's a celebration. What time is it? Podcast time. Hello and welcome to the It's Your Effin' Journey podcast. My name is Melissa Hemming, and if a life coach and a therapist had a baby, you would get me. I am proud to present this episode. First of all, today is the day of the Boston fucking marathon, and I wanted to sort of commemorate a world major marathon by having this episode be today. This is Leanna. She is running the London Marathon with me. Not with me, but I hope to see her. We're going to make plans to see each other because we've been following each other on Instagram for some time now. And I'm just so inspired by her. And I know you will be too when you hear this episode. I am popping her fundraising link in the show notes. So if you feel compelled to send her a donation and support her amazing fundraising journey and just her incredible resiliency and strength, I know she would appreciate it. I'm so excited for you to hear this episode and just start your own running journey if you're not already on one, because I don't know, I just get so much energy and inspiration from these women, and I just loved our conversation. So without further ado, here's the episode. Hello, Leanna. Welcome to the It's Your Effin' Journey podcast. I am so excited to have you here today. I've been inspired by you on Instagram for years. I think years we've been connected now, and you just have had such an incredible journey, and I just can't wait to hear all about it.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, we've been following each other for a good couple of years now. I just really appreciate the motivation that you have and the inspiration towards life that you don't have to be perfect and it's just go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important, especially when it comes to running, to learn how to eliminate that need for perfection, right? Because it is so imperfect, and it's such a wild ride, but it can bring you to such amazing places if you allow it to, which you know.
Yeah, and it's something that I always tell people when they're starting out running or any type of new activity where it's like as long as you're doing it, you're doing it. Like just
Yeah,
because you don't look like the elite runner, well, guess what? Is your body still running? Then you're a runner. So
absolutely.
it's one of those things where it's like, and even like with my friends where they're like, but I'm not fast enough to run a marathon. Like I'm always in like that slowest wave. And I'm like, well, guess what? It's still 26.2 miles. They don't make it
Absolutely.
longer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're getting what you paid for with your registration fee by being out on the course the longest, right?
Exactly. You get to experience everything. You're really taking in the crowds rather than flying past, and you're hanging
Yeah.
out with the volunteers more. Get to
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. So we are both running London. Hopefully we'll finally connect in person in London. It would take us getting across the ocean to do that. And like you said before we press record, we have been at so many races together and just never connected. But when you're at big races, it is hard to do sometimes.
Yes, I know. I was like, I think it was last year. We both ran Chicago, and I was like, why
Yes.
didn't we plan that better?
I know. I know. That was a good one too. So
That was a
so so London is going to be your third world major, and
mm-hmm.
Berlin will be your fourth.
Yeah.
So you have New York and Chicago?
Yep. I have New York and
Okay.
Chicago. New York was my first one in 2023, and then I did Chicago last year, and I did New York last year again.
Oh my
I
God.
live in the city, so I have an easy access to complete the New York Roadrunners 9+1 program.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so I do that. But I also the charity team that I run for, Children's Tumor Foundation, they always have charity bibs for the New York Marathon, Chicago, Berlin, and then they just added this year London. So when I'm running London,
Yeah.
it's first London team, so I'm really excited for
Oh,
that.
that's cool. That's great. I
Yeah.
love that. So are you're fundraising for them for Berlin as well.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Awesome.
Whenever I can, I run for them, because what they do, it's obviously like I have my own personal connection. They have their mission to raise funds towards research to finding a cure for all types of NF, which is a group of genetic disorders that cause tumors to grow in the nervous system. And that's what I have. I have NF2 related schwannomatosis. And running just proves to me that, yes, I have a genetic disorder, but that's not going to stop me.
Yes. Yeah. So let's talk about this whole tell us your story.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed when I was 16 years old. Um, it is a genetic disorder, so I was born with it. But I didn't really start showing true signs of it until I was a teenager. I was training to be a professional ballerina, and during dance class one day, I just couldn't lift my right leg above 90 degrees. There was a shooting pain in my right hip. And I didn't say anything for a good couple of years, and I just lived with
Really?
it. Yeah, the thing with the ballet world, unfortunately, there is the toxicity that comes with it. And if you talk about an injury or let them know that you're injured, they kind of ignore you a little bit. Uh,
Mm.
so I really kept it quiet. And then on top of it, my mom moved so I could go to a specific dance school without having to
Mm.
live away from home. And so I had that guilt of like, oh my gosh, I'm injured and she did all of this. I can't tell her I'm injured. This is going to just ruin all of this. Um,
Oh my
but I
gosh, that's so much pressure.
Yeah, I was really like I tried everything I could to keep it to myself and manage that pain. But taking Motrin all the time is not good for you. And then it just got to a point where the pain just kept increasing. And
Oh,
so yeah, we went to a doctor, a sports orthopedist, and he suggested physical therapy. We did x-rays, nothing showed up on the x-rays. So they're like, oh, it's probably like some tendonitis in your hip. But then physical therapy wasn't helping and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Went back to the doctor and they're like, well, since nothing showed up on the x-ray, next step is going to be MRI. Um, got the MRI of my hip as my mom and I were driving home from that appointment, I guess they called the house phone because, landlines back then.
yeah.
17 years ago. Here we go. Um, so we came home to a voicemail that said, we're going to need you to come back for another MRI. There's a tumor that showed up in the upper corner, which means it's actually in her lower spine. So went back and they did a MRI of my entire lower spine. It took like 6 hours to get done. Yeah, MRIs we took very long back then. And there it was, this big, giant, grapefruit-sized tumor in my lower spine, and that's what was causing me the pain for all those years. I, I'm so sorry. My cat is like right next to me digging.
My dogs will inevitably start barking at some point, so don't worry at all.
Uh, but the biggest concern with that tumor was like, is this cancer? Like we had this whole big scare. Like that's the first question that was asked. And luckily, the doctor that I went to, he's like, hey, I know this board who you can show her scans to. And so my mom sent it along to the board. And there was a neurosurgeon on there, and first off, all the doctors confirmed it was not cancerous. They can tell just by looking at a tumor and an MRI if it's going to be cancerous or not, because apparently cancerous tumors, they look angry. They have like rigid lines around them, whereas benign tumors have smooth edging. So that's really interesting. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that like you can just tell by looking. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, but the neurosurgeon, he's like, this is probably on a nerve. I would suggest to have a neurosurgeon do it. Here's a great hospital where you can go to in your area. And so my mom reached out to this hospital and asked for the neurosurgeon and they're like, no, we'll just do the surgery. If we need a neurosurgeon, we'll call the one that's like on call. And my mom's like, so when my daughter's out on the table, cut open, that's when you're going to call the neurosurgeon? And so we said, no, thank you. Went up to this board, and the neurosurgeon was flabbergasted. He was in disbelief. He couldn't believe they said that to us. So he ended up like asking us like, wait a minute, and reconfirming because at the time I actually lived in Connecticut. Um, and he's like, "You're there, right?" And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm being transferred to Connecticut Children's Medical Center in 3 months. Will you wait for me? I will do the surgery myself." And so I waited. And that was Dr. Paul Kenev. He did the surgery. It actually took two surgeries to remove that beautiful tumor. And unfortunately, because it was growing on a nerve, it caused severe nerve damage in my right leg. I lost all sensation. It was pretty much like my leg was asleep the entire time.
Wow.
So I couldn't stand on it because my body didn't know it was there. So I was in a wheelchair and I had to relearn how to walk to get the nerves moving again and everything like that, which I moved pretty quickly because I went from training to be a ballerina to not being able to walk, so the
Yeah.
stubborn kicked in, and I was just like, no.
How old were you at this point?
I was 16.
You were
I was,
16.
yeah, I was 16 at this point, entering my junior year of high school in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky in the sense that my high school was small. So they were really accommodating and I wasn't just left to the wayside. They really took care of me, and I have an extra level of luckiness with this situation where my mom was a special ed teacher.
Oh,
So she was able to set me up with all the physical accommodations and knew all the ins and outs of what could be provided to me legally for all of this. So we had it set up where I had a custom schedule, where I had the first 3 periods of the day were classes, and then the middle periods were study hall, lunch, study hall, art, and then finished with like two academic classes. And then I didn't have to participate in gym. I just had to sit on the side and like do my PT exercises that I got to help revitalize the nerves. Um, and that was it. And I got to go to the nurse anytime I wanted, took a nap anytime I needed if I had to. And it was really great. And I think that really helped with the process of relearning how to walk because I knew I would be supported in that sense.
how did
I
you
was like,
feel? How did it go? How was it going from being this active ballerina to not being able to bear weight on your leg?
miserable. It was one of the worst times of my life. I had everything set in stone since I was like 9 years old. Like I had it all planned out. Like I was gonna be a professional ballerina. I was gonna go to college for dance. And then after college, I was gonna go to join the London City Royal Ballet. Like it was all set in stone. And then rug ripped out from underneath me. And I was just lost. I was so lost. And everyone was just happy to see me awake and moving, but it's like
Yeah.
I don't I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And then the worst was when everyone would turn around and be like, "Oh, you're just like everyone else though. Like you're applying to college. Like no one at that age knows what they're going to do." And I'm like, "But I did know. I did know, and I don't have that anymore."
Yeah.
So it took me a while to get through that and push through it, which is also why I think I learned to walk again so quickly because I just couldn't stand being in that situation.
Yeah. So you just sort of like channeled all of that energy into healing and getting back up, literally.
Literally, yes. I will say my mom's house at the time, like it was not handicap accessible. And there were like stairs everywhere. So I would do like the shuffle, I would crawl, I would butt scoot up and down the stairs.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. So
yeah,
it just felt like tingly to you? Like it just felt asleep.
it was asleep. It was numb. I just didn't feel it at all. But the muscles still worked. The muscles would still like engage. If I thought about like activating my quad or my calf muscle or moving my foot, like I could still move it because the muscles were still functioning. I couldn't feel
Couldn't
it.
feel it. Wow.
Yeah, it's like when you lose circulation and like you go to stand up again and you're like, whoa. That
Yeah.
was me 24/7. But the more I did it and the more I moved, it seemed to wake up again. And the body just became this incredible force of nature and just rerouted everything. Because I definitely now to this day, like 17 years later, like I know there's still some numb spots that I don't feel still, but as long as I don't think about it, it's okay.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Okay. So how long did it take you to start walking again?
It took about a year. I think the thing that really solidified that I was going to be able to say goodbye to the wheelchair and move on to like a cane for support was in the spring of junior year of high school when it was time to do the fitness exam for the state, where the requirement is to run the mile. And I made a plan to shuffle it as slow as I needed to. It took me a half hour, but I did it.
Oh,
My
good
gym
for
teacher nearly,
you.
yeah, my gym teacher nearly had a heart attack. But she knew I needed to do it. She was someone who was very familiar with my background as a ballerina. So knowing she had an idea of how much this was affecting me. So when she saw the determination in my face to like keep doing this mile, like I knew I had to do it. And then of course I had a couple classmates that ended up joining me and walking with me.
Oh, I
So
love that.
yeah, they were prepared to catch me if needed. My friend carried me back inside to the wheelchair. Like it was like I was
It was
safe.
like a moment.
Yeah, it was a great moment. And once I did that, I was like, well, that's it. There's my green light. I can do anything again. And
Oh.
I just went for it.
So how did you find running? When did you find running?
I actually found running during the pandemic. It was a while till I found running. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
So what
and
is
it
so let me so before I guess before we get to running, what did your life look like after that point? Like did you like obviously you had lots of work to get to abandoning the cane and or whatever sort of supports that you had. What did that look like?
Um, I just kept up a habit of always moving. My mom has always been active, still to this day is very active. So I would go with walks with her around the neighborhood. I started incorporating bike riding.
Oh,
To just, I was off my leg technically, so like I could relax with the pressure. And the hills really helped challenge that effort of pushing down in that force. So that really helped. And eventually, I actually did start dancing again. When I went to college, I joined the contemporary dance program there. And I realized by shifting the style of dance, I was able to actually utilize the nerve damage in certain aspects. I didn't have to be perfect anymore with the straight up and down of ballet. So I was like, okay, this is great. And I even started doing some of their musical theater. I got lucky enough to be the MC in their production of Cabaret.
oh,
Um,
fun.
yeah, it was really great. And all through this process, of course, it's like I had the medical journey of like being diagnosed with the NF, going on and off different drug trials to hopefully shrink various tumors that was not recommended to be operated on. Um, and I slowly learned that you don't have to have a plan with your life, and you can kind of just let things fall where they are and take it from,
Yeah.
and that's kind of just what let me be in my career path today, and just like, hey, I need a job, so let's get a job. And if I'm good at it or I like it, whatever. You know,
Yeah.
just let that guide me rather than this is what I need to do it this year. And then in 5 years, I need to reach this goal. And it's like, that's not going to work for me. I realized.
Yeah. And I love that you were able to still enjoy dance just in a different way that was obviously more fitting to you at the time.
Yeah, I also knew a part of me, I stopped dancing. I realized I had to let it go. Because even at the lightest capacity of even just taking a class for fun, it always became something more internally for me. And I always started getting critical of myself of like, well, if I work hard enough, maybe I can do this, maybe I can make it this and be professional. And it's like I couldn't separate the career goal of dance for its pure enjoyment. And I would just get so wrapped up in it, and I couldn't let it go. And um because of the nerve damage and the ongoing lifestyle of living with NF, like there was no promise that it was a permanent career path. And so it's like I lost it once, I don't want to lose it again.
Yeah.
So it's best to just separate myself from it.
Yeah. So now that you or at that time that you knew that you had the NF, does that mean like regular MRIs to figure out if there are tumors or like well how does that work?
Yep. So once I got diagnosed with NF, it was MRIs once a year. Um, and then when I turned 25, it became MRIs twice a year. Um, and then I participated in, at this point, it was three chemotherapy drug trials. Um, because after all of was said and done and discovering of the tumors, I first went on a mission to remove every single one of them because I believed that would fix it. And that was the cure. And there's no cure for NF at all. Because even if you remove all your present tumors, new ones will form. Um, and at the time, even when I was first diagnosed, I had a brain scan and my vestibular schwannomas were discovered, which are two brain tumors on one on each vestibular nerve, and they cause deafness, vision problems, and they can squish your brainstem if they get too big. They're like right behind in here.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and I wanted them out. I always wanted them out as a teenager. I didn't care about going deaf from them. Um, but no surgeon really wanted to remove them when they were that tiny, and I didn't experience any hearing loss from them because they're like, it's going to cause more damage when they come out. And my first neurosurgeon that removed that spinal tumor, he said something to me that sticks with me even to this day. If it's not broken, don't fix it. So if it's not causing you symptoms, it's not causing you pain, and it's just there, don't touch it.
yeah.
Like just leave it alone. And so that stuck with me, and it really kind of what motivated me to do the drug trials, because at least I was being proactive in a way that wasn't invasive or damaging to the area. And then also at the same time, like if it didn't work, I was in a place where it was okay. It wasn't the end of the world for me. I wasn't dependent on the result. And I was also contributing to research. There was still a part of me that knew like I was contributing to research. I was letting them know if this was going to work or not to hopefully find a cure for people who also had this. So that was a really great motivation. But after my second trial, I took a break from them because it was just a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about running. What brought you to running? How did that come in the picture?
The lovely COVID pandemic.
Oh yes, COVID, of
Yes,
course.
Sid. I got really claustrophobic just hanging out inside all the time. I was doing at-home workouts and it was great and all, but like I needed to get out. Like I
Yeah.
needed to get outside and it was probably around springtime where I was like, you know what? Let me just go for a walk. It's easy to stay social distance around here because there's not too many people around. And where I live here in New York City, there's the East River Walk, and I had a access bridge literally right down the street from where I live. So I was like, perfect. I can walk along the water, get some fresh air. I'll still
Yeah.
wear a mask, safe, whatever. Started walking, and I was like, this kind of feels slow. What, what if I ran? And so I ran, and all of a sudden I realized, like, I made it to the end of where the Riverwalk ends, and I was like, I got a cue from my watch, and it was like 1 mile, and I was like, I just ran a mile? What? And mind you, it was like a 12-minute mile, but it was still a mile, and I ran
Yeah.
it, and it's like, whoa, I was really impressed with myself, and I was really proud of myself, and I was like, I'm gonna run back. I'm gonna run back home. And so I ran back home and I did it again. And I was just so proud of myself. And the next day I was like, let's try this again. And that's what really kicked it off. And I remember calling my mom, telling her how excited I was that I ran. And she's like, "Well, obviously you can run. It's in your blood. Your dad's a marathoner." And I was like, "All right."
Oh, that's
And
cute. So he runs marathons.
he is the big marathon man. He's part of like the original groups that ran the New York City Marathon back in the 70s and the 80s.
Holy shit, so cool.
Back
That
when
is
the entry fee was a
awesome.
dollar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was only 20,000 runners.
That's incredible. Does he still run?
He stopped running, but when I started running, he started to get into it again because when my mom told me that, and reminded me about New York Road Runners here in the city, I signed up for a race in Central Park, like once I felt confident enough to run like a consistent 4 miles. And when I ran my first race, like right after, I remember I called him and I was like, Dad, guess what? And that
Oh,
was it. So he's my coach, actually. He's my running coach.
I love
Yep.
that.
Yeah, he's my running coach. And it just brought back all these memories of like, that was our daddy-daughter time. Like, I used to be in like the jogging stroller as a kid when he would go for a run. And for me, I just thought, like, hey, we're hanging out. But like, he was training.
Yeah.
Like, he's training for races. And I'm just like enjoying myself. Like, this is great. And he's like actually going out for his long runs. Whoops.
You're like, Dad, give me some more goldfish.
Right, like that's all I wanted was like goldfish and juice and like hanging out with the wind in my face. Like I was great and like
Oh my God,
way over
that's
my.
hysterical. So he must have been so happy when you picked that up.
Oh yeah, and he started like going into like, proper hydration, what to do once I get into longer distances and things like that. And I was like, well, I don't know about that. But then I think it was like within the first year or so that I started running. Because I signed up to be a New York Roadrunner member, I got the email notification that the lottery was open for the New York City half for the
I,
the one that they have in March that just passed.
I love
And I
that
was like,
race.
it's so fun. It's one of my favorite races.
It's
And so I
amazing.
enter. Yeah, it's a great path. And like if anyone ever asks me like what's it like and if they're ever interested in also running the marathon for New York City, I'm like this is like a taster for the New York
Yes.
City Marathon. This
Yes.
is your taste test. Like it's going to give the same feeling, same vibe, same crowd. Like it's just
Half the
it's
miles.
a good one. Yeah,
It's
half a
like
mile.
magical. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like a marathon, but not a marathon.
Right, same energy though.
Yeah.
And I got in for the lottery, and my mom looked at me and was like, "Can you do that? You don't run more than 4 miles at a time." And I was like, "I don't know." And then I saw a 15K coming up in Central Park. And so I was like, you know what? If I can run a 15K, I can run a half marathon. Like, no big deal. And so a delusion. I was completely delusional about it. Because in my head, the race being in Central Park, I figured out, I was like, it's just 2 laps around the park. Like, who cares? Like, I can do this. I can teach. It's like, genius, you've only ran 4 miles. Like, you don't run past 4 miles. Like, delusional. But I did it, and I did it in a decently good time, and I was just naturally getting faster and faster too. And so when I told my dad that I signed up for the half marathon and I got in, I had this like full training plan set up by him and everything. It was great. Um, bought myself a treadmill, the ones that like fold up and store vertically against the
Oh,
wall
yeah.
because yeah, I wasn't confident enough to go running at night during like the dark hours. It was just something about she was running in Central Park before the sun was up. It just
Yeah. Yeah.
start of a true crime documentary that I did not want to live out. So I got a treadmill for myself. I still use it to this day. Um, and I just became addicted to running, and that was it.
You
Just
loved
didn't
it.
stop.
That was it. So what year was that your first half?
Yeah.
It's your effing breakthrough. Round two is open for enrollment. We are going to be starting my second round of this 3-week group coaching program, which honestly has blown my own mind. And also, I'm proud to say, has helped other people along in their own journeys to unstick themselves, continue moving forward in a direction that serves them. Obviously, it's your own effing journey. So it's really up to the participants to figure out what it is that's holding them back. And that takes a lot of internal work. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing is stuff that I help my clients with in my clinical mental health practice. And I'm really, really happy about the results that we've gotten. I wanted to read one person who has been through this program, her takeaway, just to see if it resonates with you. So she said she wanted to share some of her takeaways from just 1 week of It's Your Effing Breakthrough. The amount of aha moments and realizations and thought work and mindset has been absolutely amazing this week. Learning how to change my thoughts and think differently has been a game changer as well. Setting boundaries and keeping them has been so freeing and something I always was afraid to do because I was always worried about what the other person and what they were thinking or how they would feel. The mindset and mental health part has been absolutely mind blowing this week. Now I need to change habits that I have been doing for months and years and start to implement changes to put myself first and my health and my happiness, which is what I plan to work on through the rest of the program. And now that we are in the third and final week of the first round, I'm happy to report that that's exactly what people are continuing to do. Unstick themselves, create new habits, and then learn how to continue that momentum moving forward. And what the nice part about It's Your Evan Breakthrough is that you have access to all of the content of the program moving forward. So you can continue to go back and revisit it, set new goals for yourself because it's always going to shift depending on what you're experiencing or what you're going through in the moment. So if you're someone who has been wanting to work on their mental health, but either doesn't want to make the investment into working with someone individually and or feels like they may not have the time to do that in their schedule, this is perfect for you. I said to each of the participants in the first round, if they just gave 10 minutes a day to really working through the assignments, then they would have a breakthrough. And we also have been meeting weekly um, for a group coaching call, which has been awesome to sort of share with the group and share with each other what they're learning and what's been a win for them. Where do they want to continue moving forward? And I'm having my own breakthroughs as well. So I'm super grateful for this community and for the work of the participants in my baby program having success. So if this is something that is interesting to you or you feel like might help you and your mental health, The link is going to be in the show notes. We start May 5th, and I can't wait to see you there.
Yeah. Let me see. Uh, It was 2021. Hold on. What year is this? I can't see. They not. They didn't put the year on it that year.
You know what? I don't
I,
think. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
they did.
no,
But
it was 2022.
oh, okay,
Yeah, it was
2022.
2020.
Wow.
Yeah,
So then you
2022.
did the marathon that year, or no, not yet.
No, I did the marathon 2023. Yeah,
2022. Okay.
2022. It 2022 was kind of like the start of my NF changing, where I realized I was no longer going to be what's called a watch and wait patient, where you can kind of just monitor everything and just wait
Hmm.
around until the tumors are big enough where something needs to be done. But in January 2022, I went for an MRI, and in the brain scan, my doctor revealed to me that, we really need to do something about your right vestibular schwannoma. It's doubling in size every 2 months.
That's the one
Not every,
in your head.
yeah, it was doubling in size every 6 months. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And so it was one over here. And he's like, look, I have a drug trial that's coming up. We're just waiting on the logistics and the legalities to be approved and contracts to be signed. But he's like, I really think you should do this. We need to shrink this, or we're looking at a stronger treatment or surgery. And I was like, okay, I really don't like drug trials after my last one, but all right, give it a go. And it was during the half marathon that while I was running, I saw up ahead of me another runner wearing a blue shirt that had a big white square on the back that said End NF. And I started to cry because it was the first time in my life that I really witnessed NF being recognized so candidly. Like yeah, obviously at a doctor's office you're gonna notice it and
Yeah.
have it be talked about. But like a half marathon, random, like what? What is going on? And I told my mom when I finished the race, and she helped me realize this runner was probably with Children's Tumor Foundation. And I looked it up, and sure enough, they have the charity team for the New York City Half. And I also saw that they have the charity team for the New York City Marathon. And I was like, well, that's a cool thing. If I don't get into the lottery for the New York City Marathon this year, I can sign up with Children's Tumor Foundation. This is great. This is perfect. I've never fundraised before, but who cares? We'll give it a
Yeah.
go. Um, I did get in that year for the lottery for 2022 for the marathon. And when it became time to register for the charity teams, I was still going back and forth on it of whether or not I wanted to commit to this, because at the same time it's like I've only run a half marathon. Like after my second half marathon, I crossed that finish line and was like, "Oh my gosh, a marathon is another round of this?"
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I was like, "I don't know if I can do that again." Um, and then the next day, my doctor called me and was like, "Hey, we got a green light for the trial." And that's when I realized, I was like, "Oh, I'd probably be running my first marathon on a drug trial. Like, I don't want to do that. That just sounds
Yeah.
like a terrible combination. Like, no, thank you." So I held off on signing up for the New York City Marathon, but I did make sure to sign up with Children's Tumor Foundation for the New York City Half Marathon in 2023. And that was the first race I ran with them officially.
Oh,
And it was a blast. It was the best decision I ever made to run with them. And it was also when I started sharing my story online, when I started this third drug trial, because I was like, I gotta share it. It was kind of like like a diary for me daily to just talk about it. But I also wanted people to know that like this is happening. This is life. But like I'm gonna go forward. Like I'm still gonna run. I'm still gonna enjoy this. So that was just the pure motivation of it. And then 2023, I ran the New York City Marathon. I did get in through the 9+1 program, but I also still ran it with Children's Tumor Foundation as well. Um, and I was going to use it as a great celebration for me ending my trial because usually they last a year, and that was the year mark. Well, as it turns out, I was still on the drug trial when I ran the marathon for the first time. So my idea of not running a marathon while on a drug trial did not come true. And I did end up running while on it, and that's because they realized while the trial was not working for my right vestibular schwannoma, it was at least slowing down the growth rate for the tumor. So they figured it was best for me to stay on it until we had a surgery date booked. So that way, when surgery came along, it wasn't even bigger.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how do you like the drug trials like it's like chemo you said like it just makes you feel like shit and
Oh, it's disgusting. And the one that I was taking, it was an oral medication, so I had to take a dose of it every single day during breakfast. I was prescribed dosage of Imodium, and it was just stomach aches. I would get acid reflux like no tomorrow. My skin was a disaster. My hair was falling out. I didn't lose all of it, but like it was just stringy and gross. I had long hair at the time when I started it, and I was like, we're just gonna chop it short to like
yeah.
hide the fact that it's gotten icky. Um, and I was tired all the time. I wasn't necessarily hungry. Um, and I really couldn't tolerate too many different foods, and I would kind of just live off of turkey sandwiches.
How did you train during that time?
It was difficult. It became a true lesson in listening to your body and what your body needs during running. You know, like I didn't put pressure on myself for not fulfilling that miles for that day. So like say I had a 12-mile run plan. If I only made it to 10, I didn't get mad at myself. I just let it be. I understood that like, hey, this is what it is. Like it's not going to be perfect with this trial. I learned where all the bathrooms are in Central Park.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my
Yep.
God.
Yep. And I learned to take away the positives of it. So like for back to the example of my goal was 12 miles, but I only ran 10. That's a long distance to run
Hell
10
yeah.
miles on a take that as a win. And it's
Yeah.
like just own that. Go home and be happy. Like
Yeah.
don't be mad at yourself for not making it to 12. You made it to 10 and you're not in a situation that's normal. Like
Yeah.
enjoy that.
Yeah, that's huge, right? Like just it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, embracing the imperfection and celebrating what you are doing, right? And sometimes that can be hard.
Yeah, and that's what I realized like with the marathon. I was like, this is gonna be the longest distance I've ever run. I think the longest training run I ever did was 18 miles leading up to it. I wish I made it up to 20. It's just unfortunately my body was just not letting me do it. Like there were times where like I would just get exhausted. There was even one run that I ended up getting a bloody nose. Like it was just
Oh,
icky. Yeah, but it was one of those things where I was like, I just need to do this and take this as a win. Enjoy it, enjoy the crowds. It's an
I mean,
experience I
I can't
to
even
have.
imagine how emotional that must have been for you running that marathon with the team, going through what you were going through at the time. Like, I mean, I think about the New York City Marathon without any of these things and I'm getting emotional. And like, I can't even imagine what that felt like. Like, it must have been incredible.
It's an amazing feeling to just be like, wow, I'm doing this. Like I'm actually doing this. And like the other fun part, like you said, with having the team there, like I actually had a couple of people who were in the same wave as me. We didn't start on the same zones because as you know with the New York City Marathon it's so big they actually
Yeah.
separate by three. Um, but when we made it into Queens, all of a sudden I get a little tap on my shoulder, and all of a sudden I'm like surrounded by a couple of my teammates, and I'm like, hi.
Oh,
And like we ran together up to the Queensboro Bridge, but for me, for myself, for that race, I let myself walk up every bridge just because I was like, I need to survive.
hell
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
and so that was one of the ways that I allowed myself to survive was like by walking over the bridges. Um, but it was really great to see them in that moment. I had my mom cheering at mile 17. She gave me an apple. I was like, I need fruit. I need sugar. I need real fuel. Like my beans, my sport beans are not cutting it right now. And then at mile 19, Children's Tumor Foundation had their cheer section, and I saw them. And our team leader, she ran with me for like a quarter mile. She like jumped on the course and ran with me. I remember I ran
Oh,
into her, I gave her a big hug, and I was like, I am rethinking all of my life choices right now. And she's like, no, you're not. It physically pushed me forward and started running with me and was like, you do not give up right now. You will be so mad at yourself if you do not keep going. Go. And I started to run, and I realized we were coming up to the Willis Avenue Bridge, and I was like, all right, it's a bridge, let's walk it. But then also at that point, you're at the 20-mile marker. That's only 6.2 miles to go. And I'm like, I can run a 10K. I can do a 10K, but I know for a fact I want to cross this finish line running. And the only way for me to do that right now is if I start running here. Because if I don't run here, I am never going to start again. I know that.
yeah.
And I remember, I guess I made such a like grueling, growling, like, "Arr," like I got this face. And there were still some like stragglers of spectators along the bridge. And I guess they saw this grit that I was just digging for. And they're like, yeah, yeah, you got this. You dig deep. You go for it. Go. And I was like, yes.
Yes.
That like random strangers cheering you on, like it just lit a fire. And I did it, and I crossed the finish line running.
I
And I
love
remember
that.
just being like, oh my God. I did this. I actually did it. And I started crying. It like I mean I was crying as you turn into the park by Columbus Circle. So I was crying again.
Yeah.
Um just all the tears. And then my legs started to lock up, and I realized I still had to walk like half a mile to get.
It's like torture. I'm like, what? And then I had to walk 2 miles to my hotel. I'm like, what is happening in New York? Oh my God, it never ends. Wow, that is so incredible.
It was a dream. It was honestly just a dream.
Ugh.
It was great.
So before you got involved with the team, did you know other people with NF?
I knew of people with NF. I did not get involved or connect. There were Facebook groups, there still are Facebook groups. And unfortunately, there's a side of them that can get very depressing,
I'm
where
sure.
people like they just post always sad things and struggles. And when I was first diagnosed, I did meet someone else who had NF2, but she was much farther along in her NF2 journey, and it affected her at a deeper level, even though we were the same age. And it's the unfortunate thing of NF. It all affects everyone differently. There's no textbook, this is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
This could happen to you. Um, and so for me, I was like, I can't relate to my NF community because on the outside at that time, I looked normal. but on the inside, I was struggling. And so I was stuck in this like no man's land of not quite relating to my peers who weren't going through this and also not quite relating to the NF community because I only saw the dark side of it. That's the only side I was seeing. I didn't see someone take it and go, I'm gonna live my life no matter what, regardless. I didn't see that. Um,
Yeah.
and that's also what motivated me to start sharing my story because it's needed. People need to see that. Parents need to see that for their kids who have NF. And when I
Like to
started
keep
sharing,
living, right?
yeah, it's just like defy the odds. Like just live your life. Like, yes, we have NF2 or NF1 or schwannomatosis, but it doesn't define us. Um, and it actually ties into why I chose my Instagram handle as Leanna running NF2. I run with NF2, but I run my NF2. I don't let it run me.
Oh,
And yeah, and it's just something that like I want other people to have, and it's one of my goals that I really stick with because I didn't see that growing up when I was diagnosed. And so the fact that I have people who are reaching out to me just thankful for showing them that it's possible that their kids are going to be okay despite this, and it's like there's opportunity out there for them, and I'm like, yeah, of course. Of course there is opportunity out there. It's not the end of the world.
yeah. Wow. Now, were all of your doctors always supportive of your running and being active?
My first surgeon, Dr. Kenev, he always was very encouraging of me trying to have my life. Um, there was a second tumor that I had him try to remove. And I still have that tumor. He couldn't remove all of it. He was only able to debulk of it. And the reason for that is if it was fully removed, I would have had permanent drop foot in my right foot, which meant I would have probably had a brace on my foot and be walking with a limp and being not able to do anything that I'm doing today the way that I am. And he didn't want to do that to me. He wanted me to continue. Like he's like, you already went through a wheelchair. We're not doing this again.
Yeah.
Um, so he really set the tone in the sense of that. But then my current doctor, who I've seen now for 10 years, no, 12 years. Oh my goodness, time flies. Dr. Locken up at Mass General Hospital. I go up to Massachusetts and Boston to see him. Um, and he's always encouraged all of his patients to just live their life. I remember my first appointment with him. He asked me, "How's it going?" And I started listing like all the symptoms that I was feeling with my NF. And he's like, "That's not what I meant. I meant, how's it going in life, as a human? How's college?" I was like, "Oh, I'm human to you. Cool." So when I told him for this third recent drug trial, all through like 2023, um, that I was running and I was going to be doing the marathon, he's like, must you? And I was like, yeah, why not? And he's like, I really wish you wouldn't. And I'm like, I'm going to do it anyways, right? And he's like, yeah, just be careful, please. I'm like, yay. I'm taking that as a green light, sir, that you're okay with me doing this. He's like, I'm really not, but sure. I clearly can't stop you. Um, Reluctantly supportive.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
always,
I know some doctors are just they have a harder time with it. So, and but on the flip side, sometimes movement helps
yes.
certain things. Even if it doesn't help physically, mentally that, setting goals and accomplishing them and challenging yourself, does wonders. So I'm glad that they've been
Yeah.
mostly supportive.
Yeah. I always say that being physically active is, first off, it helps with healing and recovering from surgery. It helps you bounce back faster and get your body back in motion and in gear. But also, it helps you be very aware of what's normal for your body, you know? And when you
Yeah.
have something like NF, where you get tumors on the nerves, where they're going to cause pain, you can realize, hey, this actually is out of the ordinary versus this pain is I rolled my ankle when running. Um,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
able to kind of better, I hate to say self-diagnose because you really shouldn't do that. But it helps you be aware of like, hey, let me keep an eye on this area that's hurting me and see if it continues. Or let me think back. Did I do something where I like walked into the wall that would cause this pain, you know? And
Yeah.
then bring it up to your doctor and be like, hey, I'm concerned about this pain. Like, I'm noticing it's happening when I do this. And then you can start the trial and error process of figuring out, is this actually a tumor causing it?
Yeah.
Um, and so when parents ask me, like, should I let my son run, like, or do these things? I see you doing it, and it's just like it gives me hope for him, but it makes me so nervous that he's gonna hurt himself. And I'm like, he's gonna, if you let him do it, he's gonna grow up and know what's right and normal for his body, and it'll teach him to be better about self-advocating when he's in pain.
Yeah.
Know and be able to self-advocate. Hey, doc, I'm in pain, and he's gonna be confident enough to say it, and it'll teach him that. And they're like, oh, yes, duh, thank you.
I love that. So you have people reaching out to you about their personal so you run for Children's Tumor
Foundation.
Foundation. So
Yeah.
and everyone that is diagnosed with this finds out when they're a child, I'm assuming?
No,
Oh no.
there are people who find out in their 30s.
Whoa, okay. But it's
Yep,
just the majority of it or
majority.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Majority find out when they're children, which is why the name is Children's Tumor Foundation. But it is very possible for you to be diagnosed as an adult.
Wow.
I actually, there's a fellow runner on the NF endurance team for Children's Tumor Foundation. She wasn't diagnosed until after her kids were diagnosed. Um, and because two of her kids finally were being diagnosed, and like she had the third one on the way, the doctor was like, this is a genetic disorder, like it's not like spontaneous mutation is possible, which is what I am myself. But he's like, for two of your kids to have it, can we get you tested? And so she got tested, and that's how she got diagnosed as an adult. And
Wow.
yeah, and it's incredible. Like, and that just goes back to the lack of knowledge in the past of how to properly diagnose NF. Because it's like, oh, it's just a benign tumor sometimes. Like, let's just remove it. And it's like, oh, it's a coincidence. You have a second one. And no one turns around sometimes and says, well, why is this a coincidence?
Yeah.
And I got lucky where my doctor, my first neurosurgeon, he's like, this is not a coincidence. You should not be having multiple tumors at 16 years old. Testing time. And
Yeah.
he immediately threw out NF as a possible diagnosis.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so you had the tumor removed that was you were treating during the drug trial for the New York City Marathon.
Yes, I had that removed in January 2024.
And
And
that was successful and
considerably, yes. Surgically, yes, it was considered success because they removed all of it. Um, but I am now fully deaf in my right ear, and I did wake up with facial paralysis from it. My facial nerve, like I said earlier, where that vestibular nerve is, you got a whole family of nerves that function a whole bunch of stuff. And unfortunately, right there is the facial nerve. Um, I knew going in that this was a risk of coming out with facial paralysis. I also knew about the deafness. Um, but I, they tried to save the facial paralysis and make sure it didn't happen. They were testing it. Um, throughout the surgery, and it was that last little tug that just went
Oh,
and caused it. It's not severed. It is the facial nerve isn't severed. It is just it's damage, and it's also stretched out because it was rerouting itself around a 4 centimeter wide tumor.
yeah,
So it's kind of has to regroup, and unfortunately sometimes it's like a rubber band where once it's stretched out, it's stretched out. Um but thankfully, there are things like facial reanimation surgery, which I had in August of 2024, to help initiate a smile again and help me with everything like that. And then for the deafness, I have an ABI implant. I personally would not have gotten it if it wasn't for the fact that I live in New York City. It's really
yeah,
that was like the main reason. I just wanted if since technology was available to give me a notification on the right side of my body again, living in New York City, I wanted it.
yeah, yeah. So that helps you. Does it give you full hearing?
No, I don't understand language through it yet. I
Okay.
only hear buzzing. It kind of sounds like a lightsaber.
Okay.
But the buzzing, I've gotten to a point because I do speech and language classes with it, and patterns, and they adjust it and everything, where the buzzing does actually follow the rhythm of a speech pattern, and there are different pitches now that I'm able to recognize. If I'm One of the practice things that I do is I listen to an audiobook of a book I know, one of which is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And I read along with the audiobook, but I have the audiobook streamed directly to my processor. So I don't
Oh,
hear any of the actual language. I just hear the buzzing of it being read to it. Because I have my processor is a Nucleus 8, so you can Bluetooth stream to it. And I try and read along with it and see if I can catch it and know where I am and what I'm listening to. And if I lose it, can I re-find where the narrator is again? And that has been going really well. But like if the radio's playing, like I can recognize the tune in a song with it.
yeah,
And it really helps like with crowds, like when people grab my attention and I'm on the wrong side, like I know they're there, which is
yeah,
really,
yeah. Well, that's what you wanted, right? That was the whole
yeah,
purpose. Yeah.
yeah,
That you are
definitely.
amazing.
Thank you.
So,
It's
and are you on any clinical drug trials now, or are you
So I'm not on a trial, but I am currently on a treatment called
okay?
Avastin. It's an immunotherapy and treatment. It's often confused with the chemotherapy, but it's actually an immunotherapy. So it's using my immune system to help shrink the tumor because I still have my left vestibular schwannoma there. And it's right about the same size as the right one was prior to surgery. Um, but the difference now is that since the right one is gone, it kind of has more real estate to get a little bigger. And it's no longer sharing space with my brain. Um, so, but I want to get ahead of it. I want to put off surgery for it as long as possible. Again, I'm not bothered by losing my hearing on that side. I still have 100% hearing, but if I were to go into surgery and come out deaf, I'd be okay. There's technology these days that make life still possible as a deaf person. So that doesn't bother me. I'd also get an ABI on that side too. Why not?
Yeah,
Um, it's the facial paralysis. I don't want to go through that again.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
trying to shrink it as much as possible so that way the facial nerve has a chance on that side to survive a little bit better than my right
yeah.
one did.
So are you feeling good? How you feel going into London?
Um, I'm definitely undertrained for London. I will admit that, because unfortunately one of the bigger side effects of the Avastin, it has an elevated heart rate and some shortness of breath in there. So I kind of had to start from scratch of relearning what endurance is for my body. I when I first started treatments, I just went back into training as if like, whatever, I did a trial and I trained for a marathon on it, like whatever.
Yeah.
Not realizing like, hey, this is a whole different drug. Like your body is reacting in a whole different way. There's a whole bunch of different side effects. And I remember I did a speed training run over the holidays at my mom's. It was on her treadmill. Thank goodness I was in her house for it. Um, but I remember getting so lightheaded and dizzy that I had to stop. I only made it like 2 miles. And when I sat down and I had to have my head between my knees, I saw on my watch the heart rate was like 190. And I was
Hmm.
like, take a step back. We need to rethink
Yeah.
the plan. Um, so I went back to just kind of like listen to your body, see what it can do, run slower.
Yeah.
And when I started to run slower again, I realized I was like, oh, I can still run the distance. I can still do it. I'm still able to run half marathons like just fine, like they're nothing right now. I'm just doing them slower, and that's
Yes.
okay. It's
Yes.
fine. And so for London, this year especially with it being Children's Tumor Foundation's first London Marathon team ever, um, I'm going in as also their 2025 national ambassador. Get to take that
Oh, I love
and
that.
so also on top of it, my neurosurgeon from when I was a kid is there. So
Oh,
he's retired now and travels the world sailing on his little sailboat. And so he messaged me. We stayed in touch all this time. And he's like, I'll be in London. We should see each other. So I get to see him after all these years. And so I'm just
this is
going
the
to
one from Children's?
yeah, this is from Connecticut Children's. And so I'm just going to have a blast. And that's all I care about. I'm not
I
gonna
love that.
worry about personal best. I know it's probably not gonna happen, but I do know I'm
Who
gonna have a
gives
good
a shit? You know, you're out there, you're doing it, you're there. Like, oh,
I know I'm gonna have a good time and I'm just gonna enjoy myself. If I need to walk, I'll walk. It's whatever.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
course I never got to run before. It's in a city I like, enjoying it.
Oh, I love that so much. That is so amazing. So I'm gonna get all of your I'm gonna put your Instagram handle in the show notes and send me your fundraising link so we can put that in there
Yes.
because you're fundraising for London and Berlin, right?
Yes, I'm fundraising for London and Berlin. I'm working on raising $10,000 for London. Oh my goodness.
That
And
is a
then
big one.
in it's a big one. It is a big one. There's only 10 of us who they were only Children's Tumor Foundation, but I was only given 10 bibs for it. So that's why it's a little bit more. Um, and then Berlin, my goal is to raise $3,500. But you know what? Obviously, more the better.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
especially right now, when Congress cut funding for the research. So these donations are really important this time because
Absolutely.
they'll be utilized to help treatments and research keep moving forward and get support and help Children's Tumor Foundation really supply all aspects of support that they provide for their patients and the community. So it's really,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, you are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your time. And we have to connect in London at some point.
Yes. What are you
And
saying?
I have no idea.
Here.
I'm gonna have to look that up and let you know.
Yeah, we'll figure it
And
out.
yeah, I get there Thursday and then I take the train to Paris on Monday. So I'll be there Thursday through Monday.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm leaving Monday morning too. So
Nice.
if we
Yeah.
don't see each other like beforehand, we'll find each other after the race. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah. I'm having a whole Taylor Swift day on Friday. All Taylor
Yes.
Swift activities. So I'll let you know if you want to join in on some.
Yes, yes, I do. I love Taylor. Big fan.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we will definitely be in touch. And yeah, give me the fundraising link. I'll put it in the show notes so anyone can donate
Yeah.
to this amazing cause that is so needed. And
Thank you.
you're just amazing. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. And honestly, like I love this like friendship that we've been forming over these years
Yes.
with each other and
Yes.
love
Instagram's
it.
the best.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Best of luck in London, and we will chat
You
soon.
too. Yes.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Thank you so much for being here and for listening and tuning in and supporting this podcast. Don't forget to sign up for the exclusive content. Twice a month, I come in your ear to give you some tactical therapy Melissa / life coach Melissa advice or tips or strategies, or just a behind the scenes on things that come up in the weekly episodes that I feel like need a deeper dive or need a clinical expertise. It's $10 a month to support the show, and I appreciate you so much for supporting me always, even if it's just in the free episodes weekly. If you were inspired by this, please take a screenshot, share it in your Instagram stories, send a friend the link. I don't do any sort of ads except my own to get the word out there. So I rely on the support of my listeners to share and spread the word. So I appreciate those that do that week after week. I couldn't do it without you and without you being here. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope you love this message as much as I did. And go and check out the Boston Marathon footage today. If you're listening to this early on Patriots Day, there's nothing better than the Boston Marathon. Well, maybe we'll see. Maybe the London Marathon will beat that. But I am out on the Boston course today. Not on the course, but I'm in the green. And while you're listening to this, hopefully you can picture me waving the runners on their buses to go to Hopkinton. So I'll be with my flag saying, "This way to the bus of your dreams," because that is what I think of Boston. And it's just so incredible to watch. Any world major marathon is amazing. Boston, just in my mind, is like the pinnacle of life. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for showing up. And that's it. Love you guys and see you next week.